Well, let's start on welfare, first of all. I mean, you've talked about some people not getting mobility vehicles. You talked about migrants not being able to get benefits. But who else is not going to be able to get benefits under a Conservative government that they would now?
So, yes, we've talked about things like mobility. Foreign nationals should not be claiming benefits. But we've also said, and I said in my speech back in the summer, I think 2 speeches, that we need to have more face-to-face assessments. There are a lot of people who are being assessed as not needing to work when they definitely do need to work. There are even schemes online on the internet, they call them sickfluencers, teaching people how to make claims over the phone which can't be assessed. And we have identified through all of this £23 billion of savings. Shadow Secretary for Work and Pensions, Helen Whately, has done a fabulous job in explaining how we can get that welfare bill down. Let's get those people into work.
But how can you quantify the amount of money you're going to save when you can't say which people will no longer get benefits?
Well, because we can see the difference between what the claims were a while ago and what they are now. In the speech I gave today, I said 2,000 new people back in July 2024 were claiming benefits. That's already very high. That number has now more than doubled to 5,000 new people each day claiming health and sickness benefits. We know that that cannot be right. And throughout the country, wherever I'm going, talking to employers, business people, sadly some people closing down their businesses, they are telling me what they are seeing, that a lot of people are choosing not to work. Some of them don't know that they can, don't believe that they can. Others have worked out how to game the system. And there's research supporting this. The Centre for Social Justice has supporting research on it, as do some other organisations. This is becoming a national scandal. We need to get Britain working again.
Today, the Chancellor blamed your party's management of the economy for the state that it is now in. She does have a point, doesn't she? I mean, your party ran the economy for 14 out of the last 15 years. You also brought in the Brexit deal that has reduced productivity.
It is not true that the Brexit deal has reduced productivity. There are a lot of statistics about that. But what we saw with the Chancellor was a laundry list of excuses. It's everybody else's fault. She doesn't believe she's done anything wrong. She believes that she's holier than thou. What she should do is go and talk to businesses. Businesses have said that what is killing jobs in this country is her jobs tax. That rise in national insurance has been particularly harmful on the smallest businesses, those hiring the youngest people, those hiring part-timers, disabled workers. It's raised the cost of employment so that some businesses are simply closing down. That is creating a huge problem in productivity as well. She needs to be able to accept responsibility for her own mistakes. I accept responsibility when my party did things wrong, but Labour never did that.
What did your party get wrong?
We said that immigration was too high. I've said that multiple times. We said that taxes were too high.
On the economic front.
On the economy, I've said that there are several things that I want us to change. Energy profits levy, for example, a lot of the levies on net zero, those things were wrong. I have changed our party policy on that. I'm a humble enough person to say that I got things wrong. Rachel Reeves can never do that, neither can Keir Starmer. That's why this country is facing decline. They have no answers for the future, no plan at all. It's all over the last government this, the last government that. They knew when they were coming into government that they were going to have to sort problems out. They had no plan, and it shows.
You said a moment ago that Brexit didn't damage productivity. Are you saying Brexit did no damage to the economy of this country?
There was change. What we need to do is use the opportunities. Brexit is something that the country voted for. I'm not litigating it. But the fact that they are blaming Brexit...
The country could have voted for it, the country did vote for it, and it could still have damaged the economy.
Well, the point I'm making is that we don't have a time machine to go back and ask the country to do something different. The country
but you can accept that Brexit damaged the economy.
Well, actually, a lot of the things which I've seen, like the report about a 4% shrinking in the economy, they turned out not to be true. They were forecasts, they were projections. That is why Rachel Reeves blaming Brexit is such a ridiculous thing.
And are you saying Brexit did no damage to the economy?
Well, what I'm saying right now is that Brexit created opportunities and challenges. People need to seize the opportunities, including the government, more than anyone else, where they're not doing that. Instead, they're trying to take us backwards. We need to go forwards as a country. We need to get Britain working again, get people into work, sort out what's going on with our borders, stronger borders, help with a stronger economy, stop relying on immigration for people to do, for others to stay at home while people from outside the country come in to do the jobs they don't want to do. That's what we need. Blaming the last government, blaming Brexit, blaming everybody except themselves show that Labour have run out of answers. They've given up completely.
Kemi Badenoch, thanks very much.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Who's next?
Kemi Badenoch, people in the general election last year voted Labour largely because they wanted shot of the Tories. Now the polls suggest that a lot of people are very, very unhappy with Labour, and it looks like significant tax rises are coming from what the Chancellor said this morning. But are people now listening to you? Do you feel now that A, you've got the answers, and B, that the public are going to listen to what the Tories have to say?
Yes, I do. I do think so. We still have a long way to go. We need to earn back the trust of the public. But I think many people can now see that what we were warning about with Labour has happened. We need to show that we've got a credible alternative, a credible plan. That's what I've been laying out. I mean, it was absolutely extraordinary listening to Rachel Reeves this morning. And she's just blaming everybody. It's everybody else's fault. It's the last government. It's Brexit. This is a woman who doesn't have any answers, who cannot take responsibility. And what I'm trying to show her is that there is a way to get Britain working again. There is a way to deliver a stronger economy, stronger borders, not relying on immigration to do the jobs that people here won't do. We can do this. She needs to take up that plan.
You have made out that the Conservatives, irrespective of what happened with Liz Truss, but going forward, will be fiscally responsible, and painted Nigel Farage and Reform as sort of coming up with ridiculous numbers. They seem to have changed tack on that. They're now saying that they won't promise this, that or the other until they can deliver it. But you have now pledged to abolish stamp duty, to abolish business rates. Do you run a risk now that Reform are basically trying to steal your sensible clothes?
They can try, but they won't succeed. When I first became leader, I told people that we're not rushing out with policies until we have fully worked up plans on how we're going to deliver them. So the reason why I can announce that we're going to abolish stamp duty, where we're going to scrap business rates for the high street, all those small businesses, is because we have found the savings, £47 billion of savings. The difference between us and Reform is that Reform make the promises first and then think about it later. At the last election, they had a contract with the country and they've junked every single thing. That's not going to happen with me. I'm the new leader of the party. What I say sticks. I'm not going to say something and then change my mind later on because I haven't worked through the plans. £47 billion of savings will deliver a lot of those things which we want to see. Paying down the deficit and investing in those kind of tax cuts like business rates, like stamp duty, getting rid of those, that will stimulate the economy. That will work.
The BBC internal memo has emerged that said that they materially misled the public over footage of Donald Trump on the day of the riots. There's been the Gaza documentary, there's been Hugh Edwards, there's been the death to the IDF. Tim Davie has been the Director General throughout. Is it time for him to go? What action do you want to see the government take? What action would you take if you were in office now?
So I've just been briefed on what happened fully in that Panorama documentary. It's absolutely shocking. That is fake news. You know, actually putting different things together to try and make something look different from what it actually was. And I do think heads should roll. Whoever it was who did that should be sacked. That's what Tim Davie should be doing, identifying who put out misinformation and sacking them. The public need to be able to trust our public broadcaster. Everyone who's watching the BBC, everyone with a TV is paying a license. We are paying them money. They should not be telling us things that are not true. And, you know, they have all these outfits, BBC Verified, verifying other people's claims. What are they doing about their own claims? And you're quite right to bring up the Gaza documentary, among others, as an example. This is a corporation that needs to hold itself to the highest standards. And that means that when we see people doing the wrong thing, they should be punished, they should be sacked.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank
on
you,
GB
Catherine.
News. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Kemi, 2/3 of the public don't trust the Conservatives on the economy. Why do you think that is?
Well, they still trust us more than the other parties. And the reason why is because we have been very clear that we need to make sure the government lives within its means. Fiscal responsibility is important. It means making sure that we leave something for the next generation, not spend it all and leave them with debts and liabilities.
Why do you think that 2/3 of the public don't?
Well, it's quite clear that the public are distrustful of all politicians with the economy. They trust us more than everybody else, and I think that's important. One of the reasons why they trust us more than others is because of things like our golden economic rule. We need to find savings. We spend some of it on getting the deficit and the debt down, and then use the others for things like abolishing stamp duty.
Is it also the
and
record?
also,
I know that it's a change of leadership, but is it also the past record?
One of the things that means that they trust us more than other parties is because we are making savings, paying down debt, and also showing how we will stimulate economic activity.
Okay. Today you didn't commit to reversing Labour tax rises if they come. So while you're critical of it, you also think it could be necessary for the economy?
No, I don't think it could be necessary. The problem is that once you put in tax rises, you then change the system. Businesses close, things get harder. What she's doing is creating a lot of damage. Rachel Reeves is damaging the economy with tax rises. She promised last year, after the election, after her last budget, that she wouldn't come back for more. She's breaking not just the manifesto promise, but one that she made after the last budget. Why? Because she has not been able to get a grip on the economy, and because the changes she made at the last budget have made everything worse.
And you have argued that point very clearly for many, many months.
And I will continue to do
and
so.
I'm sure you
it's
will.
important that your viewers know.
But there's also something that the Chancellor was arguing about today, which is the productivity downgrade. And that is retrospectively where the Office of Budget Responsibility are now downgrading economic growth in the Conservative years between 2010 and 2024. And the Chancellor is arguing that partly that is why she's going to have to make some difficult decisions in the budget. You've made it very clear about the damage you think her policies a year ago, the biggest tax-raising budget ever, in a generation. But it's not just the choices of the past year, is it? It's also what's happened over the past 14 years under the Conservatives. The public are not going to trust you again if you don't take responsibility.
Do you want me to answer any questions, Beth? Yes. Well, if this was to do with us, why has unemployment risen every single month since Labour came into office? We left employment 4 million people more than what we met after the last mess that Labour left. Let's not forget that Labour left a huge mess back in 2010. Let's not forget that we spent every year until the pandemic cutting the deficit. Going back and saying, oh, actually, what happened in 2010 is the reason why we have problems in 2025, quite frankly, doesn't wash. Blame the OBR, blame the last government, blame the mini-budget, blame everybody except herself. This woman needs to take responsibility. She can barely sort out what she's doing with her own property. How is she, if she can't keep an eye on what's happening in her own home, how is she going to run the economy? She cannot.
What viewers would have heard there, though, is that you're trying to completely blame the state of the economy on the past year of a Labour government, when actually the Office of Budget Responsibility is downgrading growth. I'm just saying, if you don't take some responsibility, then why are the public going to trust you again?
Productivity dropped because of the pandemic. Okay, the Conservatives did not create the pandemic,
and
quite frankly, if Labour had been in charge, we'd all still be in lockdown. I remember Labour MPs demanding we spend even more that would damage productivity. Labour MPs demanding that we lock down even harder. I remember all of the things that people are saying we did wrong. Labour asked for more of it. So I'm very grateful the Conservatives were in charge.
I'm trying to make the point that if you try and squarely blame all of the economic woes of the UK in the past year without any acknowledgement of what also happened under the Conservative government...
But I have acknowledged those things. But I'm not in government now, Beth. The person in government now needs to take responsibility. Asking the last party to acknowledge this or that is not going to put food on the table. It's not going to get people into jobs. What we need to do now is make sure that we can fix what's going wrong. That's why I'm saying this is how we get Britain working again. I don't have a time machine to go back into the past. Of course we got things wrong, but at least I'm humble enough to say that. When will Rachel Reeves admit that she's got anything wrong? When will Rachel Reeves admit that she's got anything wrong? She is the Chancellor, not me.
I've got a final question. You're announcing big cuts to the welfare bill and cuts that Labour have dodged having failed to get it through Parliament. What about the triple lock? More than half of welfare spending is on pensioners. The OBR says that the triple lock's unsustainable and the annual cost of this policy will hit 15.5 billion by 2030. Do you agree it should be reviewed?
So the health and sickness benefits are going to get you 100 billion. If we get people off work or off benefits and into work, we don't just stop paying them benefits, they also contribute to the economy. Changing the triple lock doesn't create growth. That is why that is not our policy. Conservatives brought in the triple lock. What will create growth is getting people into work.
Can I just ask you then,
We've got to get Britain working again.
And I hear that clearly. Do you recommit to the triple lock then?
I've done so. I have said Conservative policy is the triple lock. If we want to get our economy growing again, if we want to get Britain working again, changing things with the triple lock is not where to start. Start with welfare. There are people who are getting welfare who shouldn't be getting it. Let's get them into work.
Okay, Kemi Badenoch, thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry, it went a bit over.
So let's start with, what did you make of Rachel Reeves' press conference this morning?
I thought it was one long waffle bomb. Lots of whataboutery, lots of blaming everybody else, no taking responsibility for mistakes which she has made. We take responsibility when we make mistakes. We acknowledge where things have gone wrong. We need to get Britain working again. Getting people off welfare and into work is what the Chancellor should be thinking about, and she has got no plans for that.
And you said you acknowledge when you've made mistakes. She was very squarely putting the blame for productivity at your door. She was saying, you know, that is a long-term problem, and she's right, isn't it? You can't pin a long-term productivity problem on a government that's been in office for a year.
Well, everybody can play that game. I can then, say that what we inherited in 2010 was 13 years of Labour. They, blew the deficit, increased the debt, and then there was a financial crisis. We can go round and round in circles on this. Who is in charge now? Labour are in charge. She is the Chancellor. What's she going to do to get Britain working again? She has no ideas. She said she wasn't going to come back for more tax rises after her last budget. It's quite clear from the speech she gave this morning that she is coming back for more tax rises. The last set of tax rises have closed businesses, killed jobs. Unemployment has increased every single month since Labour came into office. That's got nothing to do with us. Those are her choices and her decisions.
You said when you took office as leader that it was important that the Conservatives owned up to mistakes they'd made. So do you think you did make any mistakes with the economy?
Well, I've talked about how we relied too much on immigration. Immigration was too high. High immigration is not good for productivity. That's one of the reasons why we have got a borders plan, reducing immigration, leaving the ECHR to make sure that we can deport people, especially foreign criminals, people who are claiming benefits and can't contribute to our country. Those are the things that we need to sort out on the border side. So yes, of course, mistakes were made. But what I can do now is talk about how we can fix things. I can't, build a time machine and go into the past. I wasn't leader then. The Conservative Party is under new leadership. We're the only party that can get a stronger economy and stronger borders. If Rachel Reeves had any sense, she'd copy and paste the work that we've done, because it's good.
Are you running a risk? I mean, you said that you think she's making a mess of the economy and that things are going to get worse. Are you running the risk then of promising tax cuts and promises on tax now that you wouldn't be able to deliver if you won the next election?
But we've identified how we would deliver them. So we have found £47 billion of savings, of which 23 billion are in savings in welfare. We're using
but is that not assuming that the current situation does not get worse?
Well,
is this independent of
I'm actually telling her what she should do right now.
But she isn't going to do that,
well,
so what you would inherit.
It doesn't matter. Things like stamp duty stimulate economic growth. If you just accept that all we can do is tax cuts and borrowing, then our economy is finished. We're not going to grow. It's basically saying there's nothing to be done. We're going to tax. The last set of tax cuts are closing businesses. They're the ones who pay the tax. It's not government that creates the tax, it's business. If you tax businesses to the point where they can't work, you have more people on welfare, fewer people paying in. The rider is getting bigger than the horse in terms of the people who are having to support a larger and larger growing number of those who are not in work for whatever reason. That's what we need to tackle. We need to get Britain working again.
Well, you said there is no need for Rachel Reeves to raise taxes, but you didn't commit to reversing them if she does raise them in the budget.
Yes,
Why not?
Because that will be 4 years' time. I don't know what the situation will be in 4 years' time. But there are some taxes that we will scrap. because we know that they are damaging in and of themselves. Family farms tax, family business tax, the energy profits levy, the carbon tax, all of those things are actively causing harm. They're not just about raising money, they are destroying the economy. So I've said what taxes that we are going to cut. I don't know how big the mess Rachel Reeves is going to leave behind. I just know it's going to be a big mess, and only the Conservative Party has a proper plan and the courage to take the tough decisions that we need to get a stronger economy.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Kemi Badenoch, you've talked a lot about how the country must get its finances in order. So where we are now, isn't it right that taxes need to go up?
No, it isn't. What we need to do is get Britain working again. Too many people are out of work. Too many people are claiming benefits, including a lot of people who shouldn't even be in our country in the first place. The benefits bill is getting too high. If we get people into work, that will generate more tax instead of taxing all of those hardworking people who are already feeling the pressure of the last set of tax rises that Rachel Reeves brought in.
So you've got a figure of 23 billion you say you can save from the welfare bill. So presumably you've done a lot of analysis on to get to that figure. How many people, how many individuals would lose their benefits to get to 23 billion?
So we have talked about who rather than the specific number. You look at, for instance,
So
what's
you don't
happened.
have a number
So,
at this
so
point?
there will be a number. What I can tell you is who we need to take benefits off. It's people who are claiming for health, very, very mild health disorders, very, very mild anxiety, ADHD. We have seen an explosion in the number of people claiming that. Last July, 2024, 2,000 people each day were claiming benefits, new people. That number has now gone up to 5,000 new people each day claiming benefits. That's more than doubled. This cannot be right, and we can't afford it.
But you still don't have a number. This is what I'm interested in. The
Yes,
fact
I'm sure-
you've managed to find 23 billion,
Yes, that's
and
right.
yet you
And
can't tell me how many individuals will actually lose their benefits.
Well, because it's not really about the number of individuals. I'm sure I've told you about the number of individuals who are claiming health and sickness benefits. Of course, they're going to be individual assessments. But and there's research from the Centre for Social Justice and many other, think tanks and so on who have produced, supportive research. We have talked about where we're getting the money from. It is from welfare. It is from removing foreign people off our benefits. It is from making sure that people aren't getting motability. I don't have the exact figure for exactly how many. That number is changing. I can tell you how many were claiming those benefits in July, how many now. But of those who will take out, it's not an exact figure on the number, but we have a figure on how much we will save. And there is research out there to support that.
And people need to realise then, if you were Prime Minister, people who are on benefits at the moment, maybe people who think they need to be looked after, they will end up losing those benefits. That is the reverse of the coin of taxes going up.
Well, not really, not really. This is the thing. This is what is so scandalous. A lot of the people who are on benefits can work. Benefits should be for the disabled, for those who are vulnerable, those who cannot work. It shouldn't be for people who don't want to work. It is the fact that we are now giving benefits to people who don't want to work or who shouldn't be here. That is the problem. And tax rises are killing our economy. Rachel Reeves brought tax rises in. A lot of businesses have closed. Unemployment has gone up every single month. Those tax rises actually kill the jobs, which means more people going on benefits. Tax rises mean more people going on benefits. That's not going to be good for the economy. And she promised not to come back for more after the last budget. And yet what we heard from her speech today was that she's going to do so. She's blaming everybody else. She cannot take any responsibility. This woman has no plan. We've got a plan. She should take it.
But there is a problem as well that has made her difficulties worse, which is the OBR with its productivity review, which specifically says what went on in 14 years of Conservative government has made the situation worse. Do you, as a member of one of those Conservative governments, accept that part of the problem with the economy today was made under Conservative government?
Well, of course productivity went down during COVID. Conservatives didn't create COVID. People weren't working. All of that had an impact. We're paying people not to work. Lots of businesses weren't functioning. Of course productivity went down. But that's not, but talking about that isn't going to fix today's problem. And if we want to keep going back, we can go back to the last Labour government and the big mess which we inherited in 2010. That's not what's going to give your viewers their jobs. It's not going to help them with their, with employment. We need to talk about how we fix the problem today.
Final question, but if 2/3 of the voters still say they don't trust the Conservatives when it comes to the economy, how are you going to get them to listen to you again? That is part of the problem for you, isn't it?
Well, they trust us more than any other party. That is the case. What the voters are distrustful of is politicians generally on the economy. I'm doing everything I can to fix that. We have our golden economic rule. We paid, where we save money, we pay down the deficit, and we have tax cuts like stamp duty that will help grow the economy, get high streets working, scrapping business rates. That's what we're doing with those savings, and that will make a difference. What I'm trying to show is how our policies will change people's lives, make them for the better, not just keep grabbing more and more in tax cuts.
But to get public confidence, don't you need to accept that you got things wrong, and you got things wrong when you were in government?
Well, of course we got things wrong in government, but I wasn't even there 2010 to 2017. I was only there for half of it. This is not me we're talking about. The Conservative Party is under new leadership. I'm happy that we did things like get 4 million extra people into work. I'm happy that we cut the deficit every year until the pandemic. Of course, there is more to do. Of course, mistakes were made. We relied too much on immigration to boost the economy. Too many people came in. That's something that I now have a plan to fix, leaving the ECHR, our borders plan. We've got a great plan to fix that. But we have to look at what the issues are today. Acknowledging the mistakes does not fix today's problems. We have got to start fixing today's problems, and that's what I'm telling the Chancellor. Stop blaming everybody else. Actually think about the plan that you're going to have. It should not be tax rises.
Kemi Badenoch, thanks very much.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you so much.